but same
I
system.
was told this is for you.
Yes. Oop. Yes, she's already scolded me for something a year ago. Okay. We are going to call this to order. Going to ask our Vice Chair, Devin Seaball, if you will open us in prayer. What's your mic? 21.
Pray with me. Heavenly Father, thank you for this gorgeous day. Thank you for the time that you give us to be down here and do the people's work. Bless all that are in this room. Bless our families. Keep us safe as we travel home tonight, and bless these discussions. In your name we pray. Amen.
Okay. Well, the first order of business is that I don't think we have a quorum. 1, 2, 3.
We need 7 people.
Well, we might adopt our rules next week. So the next order of business is, so we're going to hear from some folks that I got to meet at the Governor's Workforce Initiative Conference this past summer. And they're brought to us by, I'm going to let him make the introduction. And for you political newcomers that don't know Lewis Massey, he was our Secretary of State. In what years?
That was before it got to be a hard job. Just to be clear. 96, 7, and 8. I didn't have any U.S. presidents calling me looking for votes.
Okay. All right. They're coming in. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Well, if one more comes in, we'll adopt our rules. But until then, so Lewis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman Wertheiser and Vice Chairman Seabaugh, members of the committee. My name is Lewis Massey, and our firm Impact Public Affairs has the honor of
Okay. I got thrown off since we couldn't do our rules, but I do want to introduce some folks. I'm going to wait and do our members when we have a quorum, when we have more of us. So you get to introduce yourselves. But before I do that, I want to introduce our staff who makes these things happen. To my left is Brian Hines. He's policy analyst. He's been with us a couple of years. Does an incredible job with not only things I ask, but knows to do stuff before I ask, and that's always impressive. Our attorney is Sarah Crittenden. Wave your hand. Comes to us from Legislative Council and has been assigned to us, and she will keep us legal and handle all our amendments. Diamond Brooks is with us. She is our intern for this year. She's a student at Clayton State. And getting her first dose of politicalness. And then Vanessa Turner is watching online. She's back in the office, has been my assistant ever since I moved into the Capitol, and she also keeps me on the straight and narrow. So thank these folks, and then back to you. And you're on.
We good?
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, Chairman and Vice Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to talk with you today about an initiative that I have been around now for close to 20 years. And this is a little bit of a cathartic experience for me, being as I had the honor and privilege to, as a much younger man, launch this pilot initiative here in my home state of Georgia. So I'm really excited to come back to you today, talk about where this initiative has gone since that time, and talk about what we've seen done in the state in the past couple of months and years. So I'll start with saying workforce development is really hard. That's one thing I've learned in the past 20 years. There are a lot of players, there's a lot of different funding streams, there's a lot of things that need to be done. And you're trying to really develop it for so many different industries. It's very tough to make a mass systematic workforce development system that provides all the needs for all of your employers unless you have a common language that attaches and connects all of those different players in that system. And that's what we really want to talk about today, is how do you set up and create that common language between all of those different players. So today we're going to talk about ACT Work-Ready Communities. ACT Work-Ready Communities is now known as a national best practice. We have active work-ready communities in 32 states and now Guam as of last year. So we've gone international, or at least international over half the Pacific Ocean. And what we're really trying to do is create a workforce pipeline to meet employer demand, improve career education success, and boost community growth. You have your education players in your community, you have your workforce. Getting them all on the same page, aligned towards the overall economic development of the community, is what these work-ready communities are coming together to do. So to give you a quick little ride in the Wayback Machine, 2006, 2007, Governor Perdue, now Chancellor Perdue at that time, was one of the first governors in the country to start a workforce development office. I was incredibly honored and fortunate to be the second hire to that governor's office of workforce development. And as a man driving around to all 159 counties at least once, I had the privilege of taking Georgia Work Ready out to all of Georgia at the time. If you have driven around our state, you've likely seen this logo, Georgia Work Ready. It was the first of its kind. It was truly one of the first seamless, trying to bring everybody together workforce development systems of that time. Long story short, we got 146 of the 159 counties on board with this initiative. Other states took notice. I will tell you that once we got it off the ground, we were asked by a lot of different states, but we ran into a couple of issues. The one primary issue, and I will never forget this, we were asked by an employer in Dublin area. They said, well, we love this program. It's the first we've seen of the kind. Who made up the goals to become certified? And we at the time said, well, this is a statewide initiative. We made up our own goals. And they said, well, we still like it, but we feel like that's kind of like giving yourself a gold star. Should you have somebody else to maybe be a third party to see what certification looks like? I said, that's a great idea. So at that time, we, of course, then went, as we were partnering with ACT, our organization now at the time, we asked ACT, do you think with all of your data, your research, and your years of experience in workforce development, do you think you could take this initiative beyond the state borders and truly make it a national program as it is today? And that's where we are today. That's where we are, where we have 32 states. Georgia was the first. Georgia is still known as the first. The Georgia Work Ready logo is still recognized across the country. Today, and at the time where it went, of course, governor initiatives change. It slowly fizzled out, but at that time, workforce development was still in its infancy. It wasn't talked about a lot. It was really still more focused on economic development. Today, we live in a world where workforce development is economic development. Employers want to know, how are you going to make sure I get skilled employees now, tomorrow, and 10 years into the future? So we're in a completely different state of mind when it comes to workforce development and where we can see this initiative moving forward. So for all of the work-ready communities across the country, we now have 550 of them. They're all linked by what is known as a common criteria. Every single county that has joined does so voluntarily. They have to have a certain number of employers recognize what is called the ACT Work Keys and NCRC. Acronym of the day, I apologize, National Career Readiness Certificate. This is that work skills assessment that allows all the individuals within the community to really build that common language. That is how you know that in the K-12 what a certificate means, and then the community colleges, through your technical colleges, and then to your employers. So within these communities, they have to agree to a certain number of employers that are recognizing that certificate and what it does for them on the job site. We then, of course, require different sectors of the community to earn a national career readiness certificate so that they can begin supplying those employers with a skilled pipeline moving forward. Pass it over to Mary to talk about that.
So this common language, what is it? Work keys are a series of assessments, but it's also part of a larger suite of products that include the credential, the NCRC itself, based on your levels that you achieve on the assessment that determines your level of credential. But we also offer curriculum and a way for employers and training providers to align the skills measured by the assessments with the skills needed for jobs. That's how it's meant to be used. That's how it's been used for the last 30 years. And that alignment is what makes it so different. We know that we're actually measuring what skills employers actually need for job success for those specific job openings that they have. And again, the solutions themselves are called work keys. The credential itself is the NCRC. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So in terms of the skills themselves, we measure a lot of different skills with the work keys solutions. But the three that an individual has to assess in order to earn the credential itself, the NCRC, are these three right here: work keys applied math, graphic literacy, and workplace documents. And unlike probably our more well-known ACT assessment, we're not measuring with these assessments what you know. We're not measuring your knowledge. We're measuring, can you apply what you know to solving work-based problems? All of these assessments are work contextualized. You're not going to get a passage to read from Shakespeare. You're going to be getting an excerpt from a technical manual or a letter from the CEO, and you have to interpret that piece of reading. Same thing for, again, the math and graphic literacy. So again, what we're measuring is, can you apply what you know to solving problems in the actual workplace? It's very applied. And again, these assessments have been around for over 30 years. The research behind the validity that they predict job performance is robust. We've done this research across a number of industries. Manufacturing is a sweet spot, but again, we do have alignment to show that individuals who test better, higher levels of skills as measured on work keys, actually go on to have higher pass rates on more industry-specific credentialing programs, that they are more likely to stay on the job, to retain employment longer, that they're, when they're unemployed, able to secure better jobs at higher pay. And then for employers, more importantly, we can show ROI, return on investment, that it decreases time and cost to hire and increases productivity. So just a little bit more about the credential itself. This is not a small program. We have issued over 6 million National Career Readiness Certificates nationally to date. Again, the credential is based on your performance across those three assessments, and it's issued in 4 different levels: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And we've aligned all of the assessment skill data behind the credential with all of the different occupations in the U.S. so that an individual, when earning the credential, can see on our website for free what skills they have and how they translate to different jobs and job openings across the U.S. And again, I'm sure Fred's going to talk about the Work Ready Community website and how to look up information for employers that might be hiring in the county using work keys. But that's just a little bit about the program. But you can see here we have over, actually I think now it is over 30,000 employers nationally that recognize and or use work keys in the NCRC for hiring and selection. So again, just a little bit about the scope of the product itself and the services we provide.
Thank you, Mary. So that's that common language. So once your individuals within your education systems, your community colleges, technical colleges, your workforce boards, career centers, and employers understand what those different levels of certificate means, that's when you really get to see the cool things happen within communities where they can say, okay, we know that our local employer that we're trying to grow, we're trying to attract more of, needs at least a gold certificate. Well, right now we know that leaving our education systems, we're seeing a silver certificate. So what that community has automatically identified is a local skills gap. Once they know where that gap is, that's when they can really start going at it with a fine-tooth comb and say, okay, are we lacking in reading? Are we lacking in math? And having engaged and active employers is the key, so they can start coming to the schools, community colleges, and technical college and giving on curriculum saying, this is the area we know we're currently deficient in. We want to have remediation so we can increase that skill level so that we can make sure that we are hiring locally individuals that have the right skills so that they can come on the job, stay in the job, and build a career there. So in growing these consortia within the community, you of course have to have some sort of ROI for all the different folks that have to be part of a work-ready community. You're going to have your employers, your educators, your workers, and of course your communities. So for your employers, what they're doing is they're going in there analyzing their jobs. Some of these job titles haven't been looked at in 20 to 30 years. A lot of them are looking at antiquated terms, and when you're looking at the new workers coming in, they don't often match up. So we go in and we'll actually analyze that job and see what skills are necessarily on a daily basis to be successful at that job today, 3 months in advance, and 6 months in advance. So that employer and those folks within that job understand, what do you require of me to be successful here? What skills do I actually need to be successful at this job? So it helps them align skills. Employers that have joined part of work-ready communities and use work keys usually see a reduction in turnover. They see a boost in productivity and, of course, an improvement in safety. When you know your workers have the foundational skills to understand the more job-specific skills on this site, you'll start seeing those pieces come together and people feel confident in what they're doing and they'll stay longer. For our educators, well, first it helps them align with local employers. What is it our employers are looking for? How do I make sure my students will find jobs in our community? It helps them improve outcomes, see higher completion rates, GPAs, and placement. We get, of course, aligned instruction, what you're talking about. If you have some apprenticeship programs or are able to align to some of these employers that are willing to come and give trainings at the high school level. Launch pathways so they can understand what their skills currently do. So if you want to go be somebody in HVAC and you're 11th or 12th grader and you go take it, you know HVAC requires a gold certificate. You currently have a silver. You know that you currently need a little bit more training in order to have the basic skills to understand the more job-specific skills for becoming an HVAC technician. And of course, aid and compliance, being able to match your curriculums to a nationally recognized certificate and show skills gains that is using a certificate that is recognized nationally helps them with their compliance. For the learners, confidence. I always talk about confidence. I've seen a lot of people who may have been out of the job market for 10, 15 years. They'll go in and take work keys. They'll earn a certificate. First, they're shocked they earned a certificate. Second, they're usually pleased with what they earned. It gives them a renewed confidence. I know I can do these jobs. I know I possess these skills to be successful. They can work longer. It helps them boost their earnings and, of course, grow pathways within their employer or within the career they're trying to advance in. And then, of course, economic development. We in work-ready communities probably have a majority rural and suburban counties. We do have some large counties, but for these rural and suburban counties, this really helps them stand out. How is it that we as a rural area can really show that we have a workforce here that is ready to have job site selections, have employers come to our area? It's always been in the past about what are their tax incentives, do you have rail, do you have water, do you have an industrial park? But now it's really turned into, do you have the skilled labor to make sure that my company is successful moving forward? We see reduction in poverty, increased visibility, and of course, helps achieve an overall vision for that community. That first question is always, how do I make sure that the people here will support my employer, support my business? And when you have a successful business, it grows. And when that business grows, they attract new businesses to the area. So a lot of our communities really use this as their primary workforce development piece. So like we mentioned earlier, we have over 32 states across the country with active work-ready communities. Guam was our most recent addition. All of these states have been at different stages of this. Every work-ready community looks different. Everyone is led by a different group, but everything that links them together is the fact that they have the common criteria, they have a common language built into their workforce development system that helps them achieve their economic development goals. This is our website, workreadycommunities.org. We run everything off of this site when it comes to information, but we also run all of our data. So that's a live active map. If you were to click on a state, you would be able to drill down to the county level and see how many certificates are available in that area. So when it comes to site selection, they're able to go in and see, well, I know that I'm trying to locate in Grady County. They have 3,000 certificates, 400 of them are silver. I know I need at least 200 silver skilled people. That's where you can start seeing that site selection, job placement work come into place. And for Georgia, I was saying that it's been a long time coming, but of course we saw a little bit of decline right after the governor's initiative in the early 2000s. 2 years ago, I guess now, in the summer, we had our first new regional Work-Ready Community Boot Camp, where we had 11 counties in the central Georgia area relaunch their Work-Ready Community initiative. Those 11 counties, of course, include the large ones of Bibb and, of course, Houston County. We had our first certified county in Pulaski County right before our summit in the fall last year. This group came together not only as a single county, but as a regional consortium, because that's what these communities usually grow into. If you're around economic development a lot, you start seeing a single county is often hard to drive all of your employers. You have to have a grouping. So this area came together as a large region, knowing they had common strategic industries they wanted to target. They wanted to make sure they were able to show that their skill sets for their individuals was on a regional basis. Say, employers, you know this area. We, of course, are big in aerospace, but here's our skill set. Here are the number of people that can go to work for you immediately should you come locate or expand here. So I wanted to thank all of you for your time today, and of course wanted to open up to any questions that you may have for myself or Mary.
I got a quick one. You said Long was one of your last additions?
Sorry.
Long County? Or did I not
No.
hear that?
So
Okay.
those central Georgia counties in the middle, like Pulaski,
Okay.
Baldwin County is one of them. Yes, sir.
So if somebody, who usually contacts you? Is it the school, an employer, the chamber?
That's a very good question, and one I get asked a lot. So it's usually 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And what I mean by that is usually it's a third the chamber that reaches out to us. Another third is usually economic development group. The other third is usually a workforce board.
Okay. Who's 19? Our newest member, and we're going to do introductions now. We have enough people, but we'll do that at the end. Representative Schofield.
Good afternoon, Representative Kim Schofield. Great presentation. Just a couple of questions and one the chairman answered. I see you're in 11 counties and they're mostly central and rural counties. So one of the questions is, how do you ensure a very equitable certification process for underserved communities? And how do you what's the plan to increase the employers in the engagement?
Those are wonderful questions. Thank you, Representative. We actually just recently did an analysis with a third-party partner to look at the communities that Work-Ready Communities really focus their efforts on in terms of, are they metro, are they rural, what do they look like, what is their composition of the people that they're serving. And by far and wide, the vast majority are rural. But we also have quite a few, Omaha, Nebraska is one example of a metro that has used Work-Ready Communities as a way to target an entire zip code and changing unemployment for an entire community. And those are the populations that they are really focused on serving best, because those are the community needs. And as Fred said, every community is going to have a different need. And so we do see that variability. But again, with the research that we recently conducted, we found that we had a huge percentage of individuals who were being served through Work-Ready Communities that were brown, black, unemployed, poverty, first generation, high poverty. I mean, it was checking all the boxes. Hispanic populations, a lot of adults who were maybe exiting a correctional facility of some kind, both youth and adults. So it's pretty much touching all of the populations that I think might be a a target for a community that was really trying to, again, provide a more equitable response in terms of skilling up a labor market, if that answers your question. And then
Just follow up, Mr. Chair. Is it possible to get a copy of that report of your data?
yes, we can do that. That was something that we actually presented on at our workforce summit here a couple of months ago, but happy to provide that with you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Yep. And then did you want
And then on your question of the employers, we usually coach the communities on how to identify their most strategic employers. Now, in a lot of these communities, they've usually done that to a good degree, and some of the other ones have not. So there's, of course, two areas of thought when it comes to the employers that they want to target. One is, who do you rely on for jobs now? It may not be growing, but it will be a majority of your jobs in the community. The other one is, it might be a much smaller population, but what area is it that you see growing the most? So a lot of communities will say, well, we know that manufacturing makes up 10,000 of your jobs, but they're growing at 0.01%. But maybe logistics or probably healthcare. Healthcare might only be at 400 jobs, but they're growing at 400%. So we ask these communities to really look real hard at the strategic industries they're trying to locate. There's 16 different sectors out there. It's too many for them to hit at one time. Focus at first on the ones that you want to really make sure you align your pipelines with. And then from there, it can go out to the other sectors that they might have impact with.
quick follow-up. The other thing I did want to mention, the website that Fred showed on the earlier slide, all of the employers that the community is partnering with are listed publicly on their webpage for that county on the website. They're all listed, every single one of them. The employers have said, we want you to publish our name as being a supporting employer so that when job seekers or other local community partners are kind of questioning, well, what employers are you even working with as part of this initiative? It's all plainly posted. Thank you.
Okay. Representative McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mayor, thank you too for being from Oklahoma, a great place. I forgot to throw it in. Question, I guess my only reason is I know we got 31 states, so is there not a reason that we don't have all 50 states? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out exactly what the other states are saying.
Yeah. So one, our team is about 4 folks that drive and deliver work-ready communities. Of course, ACT is a large organization. There's 4 of us. So we really, within the states, again, we said every county that comes on board is a volunteer. These aren't mandated. These are folks that see the benefit themselves. So the areas that we saw come on board the fastest were the areas that have seen their workforce change the most over the past 20 to 30 years. Southeast, we lost a lot of textile here. They came on very quickly. Midwest, you know the Rust Belt, the story tells itself, they came on really quickly. We do have some Western states that are also involved. They also are working on their advanced manufacturing grouping, but it's really around what strategic industries states are focusing on. There's some gaps in there where it's mostly some mining, I think in the northeastern part, but it's really just about really finding somebody that'll take up the initiative. Since it's voluntary, we'll go into communities and we'll get a lot of folks saying, this sounds like a great idea, but then when it comes to, all right, who's going to lead the initiative? You get a lot of looking around. So it's really about finding that one group that's willing to carry the flag and then follow the rest of the group behind them. So we've been at it a while. I always ask rooms, have you ever heard about work-ready communities when I walk in there? And I've been talking about it for so long now, I expect all hands to go up. They still don't all go up. So we haven't reached everybody yet, but we're trying.
Mr. Chairman, just one follow-up on that too. I guess so funding comes from, I'm just trying to figure the funding.
Yep.
So it's all over the place. And so that's why you'll see some states not lit up yet, is that they're struggling to come up with the resources locally to be able to really kickstart the initiative. It's a mix of local community resources that they're just pitching in together. It could be local funding. It could be funding pots that they're given from the state for federal programs that they're just putting together. Like formula funds, like, maybe Perkins funding, maybe workforce WIOA dollars. Maybe we have one community where the employer paid, the local employer that was largest, paid for the training for all of the other community partners and was really spearheading the initiative from their own pockets. And we do have some states where, like, say, a governor will say, you know what, this is a priority. I want to provide, the ability for all of our high school students to earn the credential, and so that'll kind of kickstart the initiative. So it has started at pretty much every level, sometimes state down to the locals, sometimes locals kind of pushing it up through the state, and everywhere in between.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, last call. Thank y'all very much for coming and being here. Appreciate everything y'all are doing, and if we can help, let us know. And in your folders, you've got contact information. We do have we have a quorum, and you've had the rules in front of you. They are the exact rules that we had last year, but we do have to officially adopt them. So I will take a motion to adopt. Got a motion to adopt, a second. We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, good job. We're going to do introductions. We have a new member, but we're going to start left to right. You're 15? 16, Whip Park. Go ahead.
Thank you,
Tell us just where you're from and what do you do when you're not legislating?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sam Park. It's been an honor to serve as this is my 9th year now on this committee with Chairman Werkheiser. Outside of the legislature, I serve as general counsel for a nonprofit healthcare organization.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Dewey McLean, and I guess I am the dean of this committee. This is my 12th year. So I want to say thank you. It's been an honor for me to serve on this committee, and if someone can say they've been over more than 12 years, let me see. Hold your hand up. No, just kidding. But during my time when I'm not here, I'm probably fishing, playing golf, because I am retired. Thank you.
Hello. Okay. Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Elmar D. Holly. This is my 7th year on the committee. I hail from what I like to say, Friendly Henry, but I represent Friendly Henry in Southwest DeKalb. Let's see, outside of the legislature, I manage campaigns, both political and brand. So this work is very complimentary. All I am is a client who took my own advice. Thank you.
And our newest member?
Well, good afternoon, Representative Kim Schofield, representing the greatest district in this state, District 63, which is the... Oh, I'm sorry. I'd only been on the committee for 33 minutes, and I might be getting off pretty soon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to play in your sandbox. But I represent the airport. I start at Moreland, go all the way down to Union City, so I'm part of every one of your worlds, whether you like it or not. Outside of this legislative body and space, I didn't know we had an outside. But I am hired. I've been working 16 years with Emory University as a lupus researcher. I'm happy to be here, and Kim stands for Keep It Moving. Who's up next?
Okay. I'm Bill Werkheiser. I serve 4 counties and an hour inland from Savannah, Appling, Jeff Davis, Tatnall, and Evans, and was in the printing business for 35 years, and then currently do a little bit of real estate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Representative Devin Seabaugh, District 34, 1/16 of Cobb County. But I appreciate the opportunity to serve on this committee. And so just wanted you to know I have 5 children, all gainfully employed. And now I have 4 grandchildren under the age of 3. So workforce is very important in the Seabaugh family.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lisa Hagan, I represent House District 156 in South Georgia. I have 6 counties between Macon and Savannah. And when I'm not here, I am operating a small business and working on my private pilot's license. And unlike Representative Seabaugh, my children are not gainfully employed yet, but they're working on it. So come and see me about that if you have an opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Josh Bonner, House District 73, portions of Fayette and Coweta counties. Outside of the legislature, I own a commercial real estate business.
Yep. He got it. I'm Matt Barton. I represent District 5. I live in Calhoun, and I'm Gordon County and a little bit of Floyd. And I have a courier business that I've been doing for 31 years.
I'm Mike Cameron. I represent District 1, which goes from the border of Chattanooga all the way to Sand Mountain, all the way to Lafayette, Georgia, about 400 square miles. Most of the county of Walker and the independent state of Dade. And before I did this, I did regulatory and compliance work for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee.
Thank all y'all, and thanks to all our partners who are out there. Our regular time is usually Wednesdays at 3. We do have a bill allegedly queued up for next week, along with, we're also going to hear from our Department of Labor and kind of give an update what's happened since last session, which has been a lot. So we're going to hear that next week. Thank y'all. We are adjourned.